everybody, I'm Mabel.
I'm Loying.
I'm Erica.
I'm Shifali.
I'm Nicole, and today we'll be presenting CRM problem 3, and Liu Ying will begin the first part.
Okay, we are covering these topics under our presentation. I will start the first topic, responsibility of property executive. Well, being a property executive is required to managing and maintain estate lines with Member of Parliament's MP. Well, MP is charge of welfare of residents, so the property executive will help the MP to manage and maintain the estates in town area. Attending meetings and activities. A property executive is required to participate in various of meetings with residents so that can assisting in management reporting, which is required by residents. Liaise with contractors to ensure proper maintenance, and the property executive will check with the contractors whether the works has been done and whether the work has been done on time. Attend improvement works and analyze feedback from the residents. Well, the property executive will look into the feedback by the residents and follow up the insurance given by the residents. They will also check the ongoing improvement works to ensure that the works will meet the standard requirements. Inspect properties in HDB estates. Well, a property executive will conduct regular checks and inspections to ensure the property is well maintained. Plan and supervise operational matters. For example, a preparation of reports and the coordination of matters relating to management of HDB blocks. A property executive also need supervise management team because a property executive is responsible for all the personnel in town council, such as the cleaners and employees in town council. Managing daily maintenance work in town council. Well, maintenance works covers common area in HDB blocks, such as incoming electricity supply, water supply, gas supply, lift service, cleaning service, playground, fitness corners, resident corners, pest control, and any other maintenance works related in town council. Thanks. Another responsibility is managing budget control and planning. Well, the property executive is responsible for all expense in town council, such as the maintenance works, improvement works, replacements, and cleaning service. Well, the last is carry out enforcement actions on common property and open space bylaws. Enforce actions reminding the residents that the common area is for public. For example, like if a resident were to put his unwanted sofa at the corridor, and the town council will ensure a warm word letter to tell the resident that it's not allowed. So if the resident does not comply, then the resident will be a fine. With that, I'm ending my presentation. I will pass to Shefali.
So now we're talking about the few checklists that DMS may use to ensure that the subcontractors are maintaining the area up to the required standard. So in terms of maintenance, town council area of responsibility include the common area of HDB, pest control, landscape, playground and fitness corner, and general cleanliness of the area. So in a typical checklist, there are 4 important details that must be always written on it. So the first will be the owner to whom the checklist is being directed to. Second will be the location of inspection. Thirdly would be the contact details of the person who did the inspection, and lastly with the date and time of the inspection. So and also towards the end of the checklist, there must always be a comment and recommendation section for the contractors to notify the owners if there are any urgent rectification works that need to be done. So this is an example of a playground and a fitness corner checklist, and in this checklist they will highlight the 4 areas. So the first area will be the general area. There's a need to ensure that this area is free from trash, glass, or any vandalism or generally any hazardous materials. Secondly will be the protective surfaces. So there's a need to ensure that this area is free from any debris, and also that these surfaces are intact, and ensure that there are no loose screws. As for the playground equipment and fitness corner equipment, there's a need to ensure that these equipment are not dented, there are no loose equipment or there are any missing parts, and they are generally in a good condition. Secondly, with the lift service checklist. So in this checklist, they will also highlight the 4 important areas. So the first area will be inside the car. So there's a need to ensure that inside the lift car, there's sufficient ventilation, and also the lift button are operating well, and also to check the speed of the door to ensure that they do not close too fast, they do not close and open too fast or too slow. Second will be outside the hoistway. There's a need to check the vision panels. There's a need to ensure that these vision panels are not cracked, and also the elevator parking device stops at the designated level. Third will be the top of the car. There's a need to ensure that there's no broken chain or rope. And last will be the pit access. This is for the subcontractor to check the car frame and platform. So next will be the pest control checklist. So for this checklist, there are 2 important areas. So first will be the outdoor area, and secondly will be the indoor area. As for the outdoor area, there are 2 parts. First will be the garbage storage. So this will include the bins and dumpster. There's a need to ensure that these bins are located on the hard surfaces. This is to avoid the bin from toppling. And also there's a need to ensure that these bins are free from spilled liquids or garbage, as this may attract flies. And also lastly, need to check any signs of pests. Next will be the building exterior. So for the exterior, there's a need to ensure that there's no stagnant water, as this can be a breeding ground for mosquitoes, and also ensure there are no stack of leaves. As for the indoor areas, this is mainly referred to the storage area for the cleaners, where they keep their mops and brooms and also buckets. So there's a need to ensure that these buckets are rinsed and hung dry, and also if any of the cabinets have cracked, there's a need to make sure that these cracks are sealed. So for the landscaping checklist, there are certain items to take note of. So firstly, for the landscape area, there's a need to ensure that the trees and shrubs are planted, and also the grass is cut. The grass is cut timely, and also there's a need to check whether the water sprinkler device is operating well, and lastly to ensure that the area is free from leaves. So now moving on to the cleaning service checklist. So for the cleaning service checklist, I will be focusing on 2 important parts. It will be the washing and sweeping of the communal areas. So communal area refers to the playground, lift lobbies, car park spaces, and void deck area. So subcontractors are required to sweep and wash the communal areas, and as for the others part, they are also required to remove bulky waste and clean the storage room and clean the drains. So now linking back to the case, through this checklist, the property executive can actually check whether DMS had performed their duties well. Through the checklist, you can see the frequency of the inspection taking place, and also were any problem notified during the checklist. During the inspection, because if there were any problems notified by subcontractors, town council would definitely act on it. But in this case, it seems like DMS actually failed multiple times in maintaining the system, because when David complained about the loose playground equipment, it was just removed, and it was not replaced after a few months. And as for the lift, it took a few days before the lift was running again. So now I'll be passing the time to Erica.
Hi, I will be covering about service request process. What is a service request process in property management? It's actually the easiest and most tactical thing that a property management can implement in a relatively short time to bring the changes in the quality of service delivery and the team's efficiency. A clearly defined process can help to collect the data and generate reports that delivers good results. The service request process will be started by the notification of request. The service request can be made by residents living in the area that is managed by town council, or the management staff, or a member of public. The request can be via email, phone, or face-to-face, or by letter as well. After the notification of request is received, town council will need to check the service is covered by SLA or not. If the service is covered by SLA, town council may proceed to inform DMS to proceed with the requested service. For example, lift breakdown or broken playground equipment. If the service request is not under SLA, town council would reject to give the service. For example, broken window of the resident's HDB apartment. Then follow up by emergency and urgency. Some problems or defects will require emergency or immediate service, such as health and safety. Regarding health and safety, building flooding, major leakage, or large scales of power outage, and security and building alarms. A property manager should inform respective authority and investigate, and also assign technicians and regarding contractors to rectify the problem as soon as possible. It is also need to give a site visit to see the seriousness of the problems. Upon the investigation, photographs should be taken for follow-up actions and record keeping. And property manager should also make the decision whether the special safety precautions have to be taken immediately while awaiting for the follow-up action. For example, putting up warning sign. Next will be identifying the defects or problem. There are major and minor problems. Major problem will be regarding the structural stability. For example, sagging beam. For the minor problem, can be small cracks on the floor tile. As for the rectification, the management team have to implement an effective method of fixing the problem so that it will not occur again. For the minor problem, it can be easily repaired or rectified if the resource is readily available. For the major problem, which is more costly and risky, and the specialist contractors recommended by consultants can only rectify the major problem. After rectifying the defects and problems as requested, the reports and records have to be made. Reports and records are the will show what DMS have done and concluded upon the service. And town council will also need the recommendations given by investigating authority to resolve the problems. It is very important to always maintain up-to-date comprehensive records of their buildings, including any changes made to them from time to time. Last but not least, the analysis of feedback will enable to finish key factors that affect certification or discertification with services. The team can make the appropriate efforts to eliminate the negative factors by analyzing the feedback, and it will also have to manage its resources more efficiently. So this is the service request flowchart. Start from the call to town council hotline, followed by request recognized by town council, and the service is covered under SLA or not. If survey is covered under SLA, a town council will proceed to inform DMS, and then DMS will carry out on-site investigation and decide whether the special safety precautions are needed or not. If the service need immediate effect or action, property manager will have to assign the respective contractor to carry out repair or rectification as soon as possible, and it also it also required to identify the defects, whether it is a major defect or minor defect. If minor defect, the defects can be the defects or service can be justified if the resource is readily available, and proceed to reports and records. If the major defects, have to carry out further investigations with professionals and followed by their rectifications, and proceed to reports and records, and finally get feedbacks from the residents and analyze the feedbacks. That will be all. Next I will pass to Mabel.
So for mine, I'll be talking about the service level agreement. So what is a service level agreement? It's basically a contract document which is legally binding, and it lists the expectation, guidelines and clauses between the parties. So the SLA would state the mutually agreed and defined benchmark for the service that the service provider is to give the customers. And by having a written definition of the services, it would be good for both parties as well, because it will give the clients the rights to accordingly punish the service provider in a sense if they do not comply with the following standards. And this is especially important when the service provider is a third party and it's outsourced, because they might not feel that there might be a lack of accountability and lack of ethics on their part, because they might feel that if it's not my company, it's not really my problem, that kind of sense. So with this legal binding document, it will ensure that the service provider will be obliged to carry out their duties. The SLA is not only beneficiary to the client but the service provider as well, because it protects them against any accessible liabilities that the clients might demand from them, which was above what was agreed inside the SLA. So yeah, as you can see here, these are the main uses for the SLA. So inside the SLA, there's the description which briefly states the contractual periods and the parties involved and the scope of work. The purpose and value is also stated so that they will be able to clearly see what is the goals of the client, so that they can effectively work towards it to have a good customer service. The negotiation and agreement is also stated. And quantifying service level is when, as you can see here, the goal is what they have agreed among each other, and they will also record what was actually provided. So the difference between these two, you can get what is the service standard that was provided by the service provider. So next would be the clauses. For clauses, it states many things such as the roles and responsibility, the legal legislations, and as well as exclusions, which will be elaborated later on. Contact information for contacting relevant parties, such as when there's a defect, and agreement signatory, which is the most important and makes this document legally binding. So for examples of the clauses which might fall under town council's obligation is that, for example, they'll provide a certain amount of funds per annum, etc. And you can see here that this basically will state the rules of town council in this agreement itself. Next would be the rules that is obliged of the service provider. The important one would be the first point, where it says the service provider will manage premises in accordance to the government's town council guideline. And they will also work towards the vision plan of town council, and any significant changes in the management guideline has to be agreeable by town council. So these are other example clauses that might be included in the SLA as well. I will just briefly scan through them. So subject matter, it basically says that if the service provider does not perform up to standard, the client can actually either fine them, get reimbursements, or terminate the contract. Service delivery is like how available will the service provider be throughout the contractual period. And occurrence handling, exceptions, and exclusive remedies. And claim procedures is when there's claims that needs to be made. For example, the period for this DMS would be 7 days. And when I link to case study, referring to the first point of the service provider's clauses, it states that service provider will manage the premises according to government's town council guideline. In the scenario that was given, it was mentioned that the playground equipment was loose, and this is a safety hazard and thus it's a very severe defect. So according to the government standard, severe defects has to be immediately rectified. However, in this case, DMS did not rectify the problem immediately, but instead they completely removed the playground equipment itself, which is not supposed to happen because before they can even remove it, they actually have to get town council's approval. But in this case, when the guy fed back to town council, they said that they will update DMS accordingly, which goes to prove that town council was not informed that it was actually removed. So for the next part will be rooftop access door was left unlocked, and there was students and teenagers who were actually going up and down to the rooftop area. And this is a great concern because according to the government's standard, the rooftop access door has to be locked at all times for safety and security reasons, because they may have attempted suicides, or they may have accidents where people do this kind of dangerous stunts, and they could also be cause of vandalism. So yeah, only authorized personnel are allowed to access to the roof areas. For the third point in the case study, referring to the second point of other possible clauses, service will be delivered 24 hours a day, and yeah, basically it just says that it will be available 24/7. So for the case of the lift breakdown, according to the agreed terms, it should have been immediately rectified because there was great inconvenience to the residents itself. However, DMS did not fix the lift until days later, and this proves that they lack efficiency and below the standard stipulated. So according to the first point under other possible clauses, town council can actually claim the respective reimbursements from DMS. They can either get it in like credits, fines, or they, if serious enough, they could request a change in service provider, which will ultimately lead to the termination of the contract. So yeah, I'll pass the next round to Nicole.
Okay, so I'll be elaborating more on the pros and cons of outsourcing. So usually, town councils, they cannot handle all aspects of their organisation internally, and some works and processes are only temporary, which makes it not very ideal to hire in-house professionals. So it is common to outsource property maintenance works to outdoor vendors instead. And so once these works are outsourced, in this case DMS, they are responsible for maintaining the town council's property maintenance works. And so, however, prior to outsourcing to a third-party vendor, it's essential to weigh the pros and cons of doing that. And although the outsourcing may present a variety of benefits, it may also pose some difficulties if the wrong service provider is chosen. So I'll be elaborating on 5 pros. So first of all, it will be the swiftness and expertise. So when the maintenance works are outsourced to outdoor vendors, of course they are like more experienced and they have the technical expertise and equipments to deal with such issues. And also the task can usually be completed more efficiently and effectively. So next would be effective management delegation. So when works are outsourced to outdoor vendors, of course then the town council staff will have more management time, more time to devote their manpower to other aspects of management, such as dealing with service and conservancy charges areas, and also maybe other matters like handling residents' disputes. Next would be better customer satisfaction. So when issues surface, residents may call the town council hotline or the outsourcing partner directly. And if sometimes the town council is busy or understaffed, they might take a while to respond to the feedback by the residents. Therefore, when they call the outsourcing partner instead, the calls will be answered directly by the outsourcing partner because that's their main responsibility. So there will usually be a faster response time. So therefore, residents would have a better experience and remain pleased. So next will be reduced risk. So in every business operation, there's always a risk of decreased efficiency during high periods of staff turnover. So if like several of the in-house staff were to leave at the same time, then it will take some time to train new in-house staff, and in the meantime, mistakes could be made. So, but with an outsourcing partner, there's a contract obligation and a duration to be obliged to. Therefore, the risk can be reduced and town councils can also plan accordingly. Last but not least will be financial benefits. So when you don't hire in-house maintenance staff, then of course recruitment and operational costs can be reduced to a great extent. And because the outsourced vendor will only like conduct cyclical, planned and preventive maintenance, this only happens periodically, and also they will come when they have to rectify any issues, and this does not happen regularly also. So this will help save some costs, and also the town council will need to pay for the services that they use. So next would be some of the cons. First would be shortcomings in performances. So in the case where an unsuitable outsourcing partner was chosen, some of the common problems would be like substandard quality output in terms of response time and performance level. And also the outsourced partner may not recognize the urgency and responsibilities that the town council carries, and therefore this will cause inconvenience to the residents. Next would be lack of customer focus. So the outsourced partner may be catering to multiple companies and organizations at the same time. So they may lack complete focus on one organization's task. And the response time for urgent issues may not always be quick. For instance, lift breakdown, and this will again cause inconvenience and unsatisfied residents. Next will be dependence on the outsourcing partner. So in this case, right, the town council will be heavily dependent on the outsourcing partner, and when issues surface, the town council is completely reliant on them to rectify the issue. And in this case, DMS had a slow response time, which led to unsatisfied residents. And alternatively, if the DMS service deteriorates or if the fees were to rise, the town council may have trouble finding another partner on time that would match the previous qualities of fees. So next would be the loss of managerial control. So when a contract is signed, it is a handover of property maintenance works to a third-party vendor. And the outsourced vendor may not be driven by the same standards or passion as the town council, because instead they are driven to make profit. So in this case, there might be substandard quality. The last one will be unexpected costs, because the outsourced vendor is operating a business that is purely motivated by profit. So the contract is fixed by the price, and for the outsourced partner, their profits can only increase if their expenses are decreased. So in some situations, if the partner is not a very good one, they might only just do the bare minimum, and any extra expenses the town council will have to pay. So this will lead to unexpected costs. So linking back to the case, DMS failed to recognize the urgency and importance of the residents' need multiple times, and so they had a lack of customer focus and shortcoming in performance. And so the DMS did not oblige to SLA guidelines, as referring to the case, the town council was often unaware of what DMS had done or had not done to rectify the issue, and they were only notified when the residents had informed them so. So yeah, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you for your time.